If you've dealt with a narcissistic mom, chances are that one of two things happened. Either you were very controlled, every single aspect of your childhood was controlled, or you were ignored and you weren't allowed to exist in certain ways. You weren't treated like a real person. There could have been a combination of both of those things. But in either case, you were robbed of a healthy, normal childhood. And if that's the case for you, then you know very often it leads to more struggles as an adult, whether we're talking about relationship issues or something else. Today at queenbeing.com, we're talking about narcissistic mothers and how you can tell that you had one. If you recognize your mother in this description or any of these descriptions today, it might help you understand why you ended up with a narcissist, and it might help you understand how you can change your life from here on out. So, let's get started. Closed captioning provided by Athena Moberg and CPTSDFoundation.org. My name's Angie Atkinson, and on this channel I offer free daily video coaching to help you discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse and toxic relationships. I like to call it toxic relationship rehab. So if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button and let's just get going. When you were a kid, you looked up to your parents for support, for guidance, nurturing, encouragement, love, everything. If you were denied those things, you developed coping mechanisms. You developed behaviors, attitudes, ideas. Basically, you developed ways of survival in such a hard place to survive, a difficult environment. And then when you grew up, you might have found yourself using those same coping techniques, those same behaviors as a way to survive adulthood. What happens though is that those things end up continuing into our adult lives and very often to our detriment. So let's talk about narcissistic mothers. Typically what you're going to see with a narcissist is one of two things. Either a mother who's incredibly controlling or a mother who acts like you don't exist at all, ignores you a lot, kind of lets you do your own thing more often than she should. A narcissistic mother might kind of live through you. She might treat you as though you need to fulfill every dream that she had before she had you. Or she might try to be the center of your life, the center of your attention at all times, and of course the attention of everyone else around you. She might see your independence as a threat. She might think that you don't deserve to be separate from her, and she might in fact not even see you as a real person outside of her. There have been so many different studies done with narcissistic parenting in general and how it affects people who were raised by them, the offspring of the narcissist, as it were. But it's really important to sort of make it clear what is narcissistic behavior and what is just being a parent. I mean, the fact is most parents are proud of their children. Most parents think their children are beautiful. Most parents want to kind of show off their kids. That's normal. That's relatively healthy. Most parents have a certain amount of expectations for their kids, and most parents have to discipline their children sometimes, especially if their child is behaving in a destructive manner. None of those things by themselves mean that parent is a narcissist, but I think one of the most telling signs of a narcissistic mother is that she denies her child individual self. She denies her child the ability to not be an extension of herself. She denies her child selfhood, independence. She denies her child the right to be a real person. And she has no empathy for the way that child feels. In fact, whether she states it out loud or not, that child in her mind exists only as an extension of herself and only to serve her own selfish needs. So before we talk about the specific signs that you're dealing with a narcissistic mother, we're going to talk about you a little bit. Let's talk about the signs that you may have had a narcissistic mother, shall we? One of the first things that I think is the easiest thing to discover is you might be a people pleaser. Someone who always wants everyone to love them, always wants everyone to feel happy with them and be okay with them, and someone who might bend over backward to make sure that someone else likes them or is okay with them or isn't angry at them. I myself was a people pleaser for many years, and I actually lost a lot of friends when I stopped acting that way. But I'm okay with that because what it turns out is that most of those friends weren't really my friends to begin with. You might deal with anxiety or depression. I know I did. You might deal with major trust issues. You might feel empty inside. You might feel like you don't deserve to be happy. You might have a really hard time feeling emotions, expressing emotions, or even just the idea of them. You might notice that you're in a codependent relationship with someone else as an adult. You might notice that you don't have a really strong sense of who you are, and maybe you're not even entirely sure what you want in life. You might have a really hard time saying no, and you might have a really hard time creating and enforcing your own personal boundaries. You might always feel guilty or shameful about yourself. You might kind of hate yourself, self-loathing. It's not good. Regardless of what signs you're showing, chances are that all of these came from your narcissistic parent. If your mother always wanted to present a perfect family image to people outside the house, you might have had a narcissistic mother. But the image outside the house was perfect. The image behind closed doors was far less than perfect, and in fact was probably very painful for you to deal with and grow up with. Your mother might have gone to great lengths to show everybody that she was such a great mom. Maybe she was your Girl Scout leader, your Boy Scout leader, or the band mom, or the prom mom, or whatever. She was always doing stuff, letting everybody know, hey, I'm a great mom. But then, behind closed doors, she was secretly, verbally, emotionally, and maybe even physically abusing you. Sound familiar? Maybe she could never be wrong. Maybe your mother was always right no matter what. And even when she was wrong, she found a way to twist everything around so that she was still right. And she definitely never apologized for any mistake. And of course, if you confronted her about her mistakes or her behavior, she would deny everything or turn everything around on you and make it your fault. One of the biggest things with all narcissists is they never display empathy. If your mother was never able to show that she cared how you felt, never sympathized with you, seemed only interested in her feelings and could care less about yours, you might be dealing with a narcissist. Another thing narcissistic mothers do is they project their own terrible behavior onto you. If you were in the middle of a big fight, a big argument, and your mother would suddenly stop and scream at you, "You get out of here! You're not allowed to scream at me! How dare you speak to me that way? Go to your room, we'll talk about it later." Well, that's probably because you were winning the argument, but that's a sign of a narcissistic mother as well. If your mother was ever criticized by you or anyone else in her life, she probably did not react well if she was a narcissist. If she screams at you, if she smacks you, if she sends you to your room for saying something about her that she doesn't like, you might be dealing with a narcissist. If your mother had a favorite child and she had a child she liked less and it was really clear and obvious, there was a scapegoat, there was a golden child, there was a lost child, whatever, you might be dealing with a narcissist. The toxic family structure is ugly, and I'll make sure to share a link with you up here about that very thing. Toxic family structure. If you ever had to parent your mother, you had to comfort her, you had to be there for her, take care of her because she made you feel responsible for her feelings, you might be dealing with a narcissistic mother. If you were gaslighted and controlled by her, if your mother used gaslighting, which is a psychological manipulation tactic, against you to make you feel crazy or doubt your sanity, well, she did this to control you. This meant that you were always trying to sort of defend yourself or figure out what was happening in life. You probably doubted your own reality and your own self and your own sense of what was really happening before your eyes. Gaslighting. Got lots of videos on that. Check it out. So you spent your whole childhood feeling like you didn't really know what was going on, doubting yourself, doubting your beliefs, doubting your feelings, doubting your experiences. This gave your mother the upper hand so she could more easily control you. I've seen in a lot of survivors, and the same thing happened to me, mothers would take their children to the doctors and say this person's got this problem or that problem, and doctors would put them on meds they didn't need to be on, and guess what? Those meds made those children more controllable. If you were constantly insulted by your parent, directly or indirectly, you might be dealing with a narcissist. If they harassed you, denied you things that you needed, or berated and demeaned you on a constant basis, you might be dealing with a narcissist mother. In fact, if you had a specific insecurity, your narcissistic mother would exploit that against you. For example, if you were worried about your weight, your narcissistic mother might put you on diet after diet after diet and ultimately leave you way uncomfortable with your body. If your narcissistic mother feels like she's overweight, she might literally harass you into also becoming overweight. If you thought that you could not share your feelings with your mother because you knew that she would spit them back in your face or use them against you or make fun of you or make it about themselves, you might be dealing with a narcissist mother. If anytime you faced an issue as a child, your mother would turn it all around and make it about her, you might be dealing with a narcissist mother. If your mother lied to you or manipulated you or tried to control you all the time, tried to make you think things that weren't true so that you would do things she wanted you to do, might be a narcissist mother. If your mother would take credit for anything you did that was good, and if you won a trophy in a swim meet, she would put the trophy in her bedroom on her trophy case, you might have a narcissist mother. Or if someone else congratulates you on something good that you've done, maybe you were the valedictorian in your high school class, and your mother overhears someone saying, "Oh my gosh, you're so smart, great job, great job." Your mother might come over and butt into that conversation and go, "Yep, they totally get it from me. I'm the smart one in the family." always wanting to own your accomplishments. If you ever felt like your mother was competing with you, you might have a narcissist mother. If your mother acted like that, oh, don't we look just like sisters? You might have a narcissist mother. If your mother acted like everything you did wasn't good enough and everything she did was great, might have a narcissist mother. If your mother never respected your boundaries, if she came into your room and turned it upside down and threw all your stuff on the floor because she found, I don't know, your grandpa's heart pill in the house and thought you were on drugs, that happened to me, you might have a narcissist mother. If there was no private space in your home that you could call your own and she would constantly bust in the door without knocking, you might have a narcissist mother. If your mother went through your room and everything that you own and found things to use against you all the time, if your mother liked to get even with you, you might have a narcissist mother. If you did anything that was against their beliefs or wrong or in any way against them, even in the tiniest way, you would be severely punished. Might be a narcissist mother. Maybe she would break something you owned or cared about, or she would deliberately sabotage your school dance or in some way do something to hurt you majorly in your life. You might have a narcissist mother. If your mother was conditional with her love and she only loved you when you acted like she wanted you to act, and she only loved you when you did something that she thought was okay or that was in line with how she believed life should be or you should be. If you failed to get attention from her when you didn't do those things, or she called you not good enough or something worse because you acted in a way that she didn't choose for you to act, you might have a narcissist mother. If you lived in fear of guilt trips and your whole life is based around the fact that you tried to do what your mother wanted you to do instead of what made her angry or upset, you might have a narcissist mother. If you were controlled through codependency or any other sort of don't leave me tactic, you might have a narcissist mother. If your mother marginalized everything that you were, everything you felt, thought, believed, knew to be true about yourself, and made you feel like you weren't really a real person or that you weren't as real as other people around you. If your mother always acts like she's better than you and like everything you do isn't as good as her. If she's grandiose and acts like she's superior. If she just generally makes you feel like no matter what you say, do, think, or feel, everything she says, thinks, does, or feels is better than you or more important than you. If she's more concerned about what people outside the house think about her than what she thinks about what you think about her as a child, you might have a narcissist mother. There are so many other signs of a narcissist mother, but this gives you kind of an overview. If any of this rings true for you, let me know. This brings me to the question of the day. And the question of the day is, do you think you had a narcissist mother? And if so, what are some other signs that you saw in your life? Share your thoughts, your ideas, and your experiences in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. As always, thank you so much for being a part of my day and a part of my life, and hey, thanks for letting me be a part of yours. It really does mean a lot to me. Now, before I go, make sure you check out the videos I'm leaving for you right here, as well as the ones in the cards above. And while you're here, hit that subscribe button right there so we can stay connected and continue on this healing journey together. Now, don't forget, you're never alone. You've always got your Spanily. I'll see you soon.